Hello and welcome to my baking show. Today we're going to be baking up some AWS EC2 instances. We'll be setting up AWS Deep Learning AMIs and learning a bit about um, the AWS workflow for the Introduction to Deep Learning class that you are taking now. Congratulations. This is Recitation 0E. We have a Recitation 0A through D somewhere else on the website or Piazza that you can check out if you would like to. This is where the link to this video will be once it's up on YouTube. Hoorah. And let's get started with talking about what EC2 instances are. So AWS stands for Amazon Web Services, and they allow you to create and run virtual machines in the cloud. We use this primarily for creating GPU instances, and using those GPUs to complete the homework part 2s for the course. You have to rely on using GPUs for deep learning tasks, primarily because there's a lot of efficiency improvements when you use these GPU instances, or GPUs in general. They provide a lot of speed ups when computing or when using PyTorch, for example. What we recommend, so we recommend that you use T2 micros for testing. They will be either cheap or pretty low cost. You might have to pay for storage, but they are a cheaper alternative to using what we actually recommend for training, which are these G4DNX larges. So we recommend that you train your model with G4DNX large and you test it with the T2 micros. And we'll dive a bit deeper into what I'm saying means in a bit. So why use different instances? So you're only going to get $150 of credits from us throughout the course. So you have to use those credits very sparingly, and you have to be very careful with when you start instances that you terminate them or you stop them, and the whole monetary side of this is a part of like reality, that when you go into the industry, you'll have to work with a budget. So this is part of the course, and it's part of real life too. So we're kind of preparing you for that with this limited amount of credits. What we put on EC2 instances, you can read that on your own. Why do we need to know about EC2 and using instances in the cloud? This goes back to what I was saying, where anyone who doesn't have an NVIDIA GPU will need to use these EC2 instances to efficiently complete the homeworks, primarily the part 2s of all the homeworks. They all have the PyTorch side of them. Anyone who doesn't have their GPU configured to be used correctly by PyTorch will need to use EC2 instances. So the cool thing about what we're going to show you is that after you make your account, you can create an AMI that has a lot of these things pre-installed that you're going to be using. So they'll have PyTorch pre-installed, they'll have Tmax pre-installed, TensorFlow if you want to use that, but don't use that. A lot of this stuff pre-installed. And that also says that. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is create an AWS account. If you have never signed up for one before, that's okay. You can go here to sign up for one. It's as easy as clicking a button. There might be like a create account button here. If you go to sign into console, that might be there. Make sure if it's your first time, just create a new AWS account and click personal, and then go through and fill out all of this information. Actually, this isn't the first page for the account. I think there's another page before this for your email address, and all the information. Just fill it out like you're like filling out a regular, like making a new account for anything. We recommend to use your Android ID. Although I think at this point it doesn't really matter if you're using a personal account or an Android ID. You're just going to get credits from us, so it's okay either way. So I will get into this for you. Okay, so I'm in my account now. After you create your account, go through adding in all your billing information, you will probably land on a page like this that says AWS Management Console at the top. And there's a few things that I'd like to point out for this page. In the top right, you have 3 drop-down menus. The one that has your account name will have the My Account little button, as well as the My Billing Dashboard, which are going to be important. The list of regions here are pretty important because they specify the types of instances that are available in those regions. We recommend using the US East North Virginia US East 1 because that has G4DNX large instances, which we recommend using because they are the cheapest and most efficient for cost. And then there's also the Support Center underneath the Support tab. That's important for granting GPU permissions to your account once you start making instances, which I'll go over that in a bit as well. So after you sign up and make your account, you're going to log in, which is what I just did. And then we're going to start these. I just told you to choose your region. I told you North Virginia. The instances you have linked to are 2 specific regions. After you have selected your region, click on Services in the top left and then select EC2 under Compute. If you don't really want to listen to me talk, you can just go through these 11 launch an instance rules on your own, and then meet up with me when you're connecting to the instance. That's if I'm annoying. Anyway. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to click on EC2 here. And that's going to take you to the new EC2 console. Pretty cool, pretty cool. And then from here, we're going to click on Running Instances. This is what I like to do, and then just launch a new instance. And then click on Deep Learning, or type in Deep Learning. And then you're going to want to select the Deep Learning AMI Ubuntu version 26, which is right there. This is the T2 Micro I was talking about earlier. And then we're going to scroll down all the way to what we recommend using for the part 2s of the homeworks, which is this one. If you've never requested a GPU instance before, you're going to, when you get to the end of this whole thing, it's going to say that you forgot to request the instance, and then you're going to have to go and do that. So I'm going to show you what happens when you forget to request the instance. You can not do anything with this page. This is the storage part of the flow here. For the early homeworks, 95 gigabytes might be enough. You might have to increase that a bit, but this is where you'd increase the amount of storage that your instance has. It's as easy as changing 95 to 200. I think you can go up to a pretty high number. I'm not really sure what the limit is. You can leave this as is. I like to not touch this. I think this is fine. So I don't think there's any issues here. Yeah, so now we've made it to the review section, and it should be as easy as launching your instance. But there is one issue that I didn't talk about yet, which is key pairs. So key pairs are, a key pair consists of a public key that AWS stores and a private key that you store. I'm just reading this up here. Together that allow you to connect to your instance securely. For Windows AMIs, the private key file is required to obtain the password used to log into your instance. For Linux AMIs, the private key file allows you to securely SSH into your instance. Cool. So I didn't show you the process of creating a new key pair, so we can just do that already in this window. I can create one with a new name, a new key pair. That's a bad name. I'm going to download that for you, and then we can go back to choose an existing key pair, and it was a new key pair. Click on that, and I'm going to launch it. So it's as easy as that, except for it's not, because I failed because I didn't request the GPU instance. So if you didn't request permissions to use GPUs, you're going to come to this page, and then it tells you, it redirects you to this request page, which I have down here. It's going to tell you that you need to request to use GPUs. This is part of the whole support create a case situation. That's up here as well. So if you click on support in its support center, it takes you to the same page. Cool. So then you can create a case. You'd want to service limit increase. You'd want to increase the services. Go down to EC2 Instances. Region, we want US East North Virginia. That's for me. And then you'd want to select the instances that you want to increase how many you want. So you'd use G because we're telling you guys to use G4 DNX larges. But you can change that. I just clicked on a P, so I'd want to do that one. And then you can, increase your limit to like 1 or 2 or 3. Not that many though. And then you just want to tell them that you're completing homeworks for Introduction to Deep Learning at Carnegie Mellon, and that you're interested in deep learning and you want to use GPUs to enhance your learning experience while using AWS or something of the sort. Then you can select whatever contact options you want to use, probably your email address, and then you can submit that. Going back up here, so that's what it looks like when you fail. What happens when you succeed? Good question, guys. Good questions all around. Keep them coming. So we're going to go back. We're going to type in deep learning again. Select it. Now we're going to select a GPU instance that I've already got permission to use, which is G4 DNX large. Again, nothing to do here. Nothing to do here, unless you want to increase the size. Should be nothing to do there. Should be nothing to do here. And then we're going to launch. Again, I'm going to choose the one that I just made here. And launch. Cool. All right, so now we're going to view the instance. There's a button down here, but you can also just go back to your EC2 button and then click Running Instances. And it's running now. Cool. So what to do from here? So we just completed these 11 steps, and now we would like to connect to the instance. Wow, it's like it's all in this document or something. So what is this line for? This line is to connect from your terminal to your instance, which is in the cloud. You just SSH into it, and then input the key pair that you had just created, and then as well as the instance name. So we're going to do that together. So I'm copying the that information over, and that instance highlighted word is in fact right here, your public DNS. So that public DNS is that instance, and I'm going to just copy and paste it in. There you go, so you can see it. And then the other thing is this deep learning PEM that we created, this is the key pair that we created earlier. So we're going to go over here and delete this and type in the name of the one we just created. And when we SSH into it, it's not going to work. Sad. Warning, unprotected key file. That's annoying. It is required that your private key files are not accessible by others. Oh no. Bad permissions. Public permission denied. All right, so what did we do wrong? So, key pair. I create a key pair, blah, blah, blah. We already went over that. If you will use an SSH client on a Mac or Linux computer to connect to your instance, use the following command to set the permissions of your private key file so that only you can read it. So the only thing that we didn't do was that we didn't do this chmod or chmod or whatever command to set the permissions of our private key file. So we want to do that, and we will. So now when we do this, it will work. And we're in. Awesome. So now we are in this EC2 instance. And what can we do inside of here? So we're going to skip down to Jupyter Notebooks and go over these with regards to EC2 instances. So when you do the homework part 2s, they're going to be associated with a certain Kaggle competition. And that Kaggle competition will have a download to download all your data. The first thing you have to do, though, is that you have to install Kaggle on your EC2 instance. And that's just a few steps here. So the first thing you're going to want to do is sudo pip3 install Kaggle. And it will install. Cool. You can do this. This is for setting your environment within your EC2 instance. We don't need to do that right now, though. I like to type Kaggle in because it seems like it doesn't, whenever I try to do it without typing Kaggle in, it doesn't recognize that Kaggle should exist or something. I don't know. So we're going to do that, and then we're going to create a new terminal. Go back into downloads. And then, so when you go to Kaggle, you're gonna download a Kaggle JSON, and then you're going to SEP that Kaggle JSON into the instance. So again, I'm going to delete the instance name and put in the public DNS. That's there. And then go back and delete the pen name that I just copied and then put in my pen name. Pem. I'm saying Pem. Cool. And then I hit enter. That's going to move the JSON file into the EC2 instance. And now when I type in Kaggle, it won't throw an error like that. It's just going to say, oh, your Kaggle key it's there pretty much. You don't have to do anything else with that, I believe. Cool. And then once you have a Kaggle competition, you can just find the download tab somewhere and then download the data and then untar it. Again, if these commands ever change, I'd refer to the document, not this video, because I can update this document whenever I want to, as opposed to this video, which I have to re-record every time I mess up. So please just go to the document. Cool. So after you've done that, if you were to be working on a homework part 2, I would open a Jupyter Notebook at this point. You just type in that, and then it's going to take a bit to open up. So I'll talk about SEP right now. So SEP is what we use to efficiently move files or folders from your local machine to your remote server, or from your remote server to your local machine. This is for all these commands are run on like your own terminal that's in like your own that's local, not on like one of these, but on the local terminal. And you just type in SEP and then your PEM name and then the files that you'd want to move over and then where you're going to put them. So this is just sending them to the root directory. Similarly, if you want to move files from your remote server to your locals, you would specify the remote path here and then your current directory here. And I'd recommend playing around with this to really get an understanding of what these SCP commands are doing. And that's something that you can do on your own time. So this is still loading up over here, and we're just going to wait a few seconds. This is the token that we're going to be using soon. I think it's the same token as that in there. I don't know why it's duplicated. It's kind of weird. Okay, so now that after this stuff comes up, that means that we're ready to log in. So we're going to go over to localhost. I think it's 8,000. Yep. And then copy and paste this token into the notebook. And now we're in Jupyter Notebook. Okay, this is going to be exciting. So when you're completing the homework part 2s, we recommend that you use Python files for all of the tasks that aren't the main run file. And then for the main run file, you use like a Jupyter notebook, so you can run it from this browser. But after you're done writing all your code and you want to just train your code, that could take hours. I think the longest I ever spent training was somewhere between 8 to 10 hours, possibly. And that's with like your code is just running straight. So you're not using it at all. It's just running for 8 to 10 hours. So 8 to 10 hours really sounds like a nice long sleep for me. So what I'd like to do is run my training code and not have to be my computer while that's happening. So this is where we're going to get into the next section. Tmax. Okay, so Tmax is how you won't be sad in this course. Tmax will make you happy again. So when you step out for a cup of tea or want to go to sleep or want to go to Giant Eagle and pick up some potatoes and you would like to leave your model training, then you want to use Tmux. Tmux allows you to leave your code running while your laptop is closed or whatnot. I should probably remove that. The following are a series of commands that are useful. So Tmux is super easy to use, and it will greatly improve your experience with this course. So what is it? Okay, so first we're gonna make, First we're gonna make a Python file. So this actually just opened a Jupyter notebook. Don't want that. We're gonna make a Python file called run.py and def for I in range 1. We're just gonna do a really high number. Okay. So I just made a Python file here. I made a Python file instead of a Jupyter notebook because I want to run it in terminal. When you're after you complete training in your Jupyter notebook, so after you've completely written all your code and you're ready to just start training it, and you know that it works perfectly, you can convert your Jupyter notebook to a run file with this command. If your Jupyter notebook is called run.ipynb, and then you can just type in this Python 3 run.py that I have there. You see, I said go ham coding. I just went ham coding. Cool. So run.py, I saved that. Now it's here. It's also right here. So I'm going to close out my Jupyter notebook and then start using Tmux. Cool. So the first thing that we're going to want to do is close the Jupyter notebook. So if I type in ls here, you'll see that the run.py file is right there. I just saved it. So now we're going to be creating the Tmux environment within the EC2 instance. And all you have to do that is type in Tmux new and then the session name that you want. So I'm just going to call mine awesome sesh. So now that this little green bar down here is here, you are in a Tmux environment. And when you're in this Tmux environment, you can do a ton of different things. You can make panes within the Tmux window. Do you like that? Window panes. Okay. So to do that, you just do Control B and then percent, or Control B and then what is it? Quotes. Yeah. So you can make all these different panes within the window, and you can do different things within each of these panes. So like you could run your code in one of these panes, then you could have a Jupyter notebook open it in another one. But the really cool thing about Tmux is that you can leave your code running while your computer is turned off. The instance has to be on, but your computer could be off, or your computer could be offline, or whatever. So we're going to use this Control BD to detach from the window after we start our script, and then we can come back to the instance and come back to the Tmux session, and we'll find that the code is still running afterwards. So what we're going to do is we're going to, that's Control B-O, by the way, moving the cursor around. So we're going to run the run.py, Python 3 run.py, and remember that's just going to be printing out all of these things. And we're going to do Control B and then D to leave the session, and we can even close the window at this point. We don't really need this running anymore. We can close all the windows. I could turn off my computer, but I'm not going to. So right now, what just happened is that the Tmux session is still alive within the instance, and it's still running that print, that the run.py file that I created earlier. To prove that to you, we're going to go back, SSH back into the instance. Oops, that just added the JSON file, the Kaggle file again. SSH. Okay. So now we're going to attach right here, attach back to the session, and it's either done printing or it's okay. So it's still running, but it's like way down. So I think we left it at like 60,000. I don't know, but it's just still going. So it's at 154. I just did Control B D to detach, and then I'm going to attach again, and we'll see that it's at 174. So this is still running while the terminal is closed, and then like hence the computer could be closed, all the stuff could be closed, but your code is still training. You can just interrupt that whenever you want. Cool. So this is the more advanced usage for Tmux. If you're interested, you can look into it for the people who are looking to do a little bit more complicated things, I guess. So you've done coding, say you've completed the homework assignment, and you want to just turn off your instance. If you say that you're like halfway done your homework assignment, and you like just want to go to bed, but you don't want to terminate your instance because that means that you lose all your code and all your data, then you can just stop your instance. To stop your instance, you go back to the EC2 page here, and we're going to click on Actions, Instance State, and Stop. So the difference between stopping and terminating is that when you stop, you can come back to it. So after you stop it, it will like be stopped at a certain point, and then you can just click Start again, and then you can start your instance, and it'll be like nothing ever happened. When you stop your instance, all of the code that you had running will like end and will terminate, but the instance will still be there, and you can come back to it and continue coding on it. But say that you are completely done with your instance, you've already completed the homework, and you just want to get rid of it. At that point, then you can go to Actions, Instance State, and Terminate. That's only if you're completely done with your instance and you want to stop being charged for storage. When you are stopped, you are still being charged a little bit amount for the like space, but it is a very small amount of money, and you can actually see that in the billing dashboard. Segue, the billing dashboard. So even when your EC2 instance is stopped, it's still accruing a slight like charge for the storage of the volume. And you can see that when you go into the Cost Explorer, which is a nice little module for seeing how much money you spend every day. For example, during project week, I was spending like $15 a day, which is a lot of money. Oh boy, good luck on that. Within billing, you can see your bills, orders, credits. When you get credits from us, the $50 credits, you can put them in here, and then you can type in these characters to prove that you're not a robot, and you can redeem your credits. Bills. So these bills are all going to say 0 until your credits run out, I think, which probably isn't great because it seems like you're not spending any money, but you are. So even though this says 67 cents of credits used here, it still says 0 up here. So you really want to like check within the total here how much money you're actually spending, and that can also be found, I think, within here. It shows different amounts of money for some reason. But yeah, so I would always want to click on these things after I get to this page. So that's billing. We went over getting GPU permissions with the support center, went over bills. Last thing kind of to talk about are these spot instances, which they're a lot cheaper than regular instances, except you can't stop them. We recommend using these sparingly, just because they are a little bit more finicky. They're competitively priced, which is why they're a lot cheaper. But again, you can't stop them. You can only terminate them. So maybe if if you're ready to train, you can just throw all your data and all your code into a Spot instance and then start training it. And then when you're done, stop it. That might be a good use for these. The way to turn on a Spot instance, for example, is to go back to EC2, go back to your instances. I stopped mine. Now that it's stopped, I have the option to start or terminate. I'll just terminate that because I don't want it anymore. I'm going to launch a new instance. You can have as many instances running as you want. We recommend to only have one, though. Go back to deep learning. Click on whatever you want. And then instead of just skipping this page, you want to just select request Spot instance. And now you have a Spot instance after you launch it and get it going. And everything else is the same except that you can't stop it. You're only able to terminate these Spot instances. I don't like this that view. They also appear in your running instances as well. So it's right there. But again, these are only terminatable, not stoppable. That will never be, Spot instances cannot be stopped. Cool. Sorry for clapping. So I think that's all of we went over billing, we went over stopping Spot instances, Jupyter Notebooks, Tmax, setting up an account, EC2 instances, video, and then the recitation. So again, to reiterate, if anything, after you've watched this video, you set up your account, I would ask you to refer to this document that you're looking at, instead of this video, because this video can't change as easily as this document can't change. So this document is a living document. It will keep changing over time. So I ask you with all my heart to go to the video here, or to go to the document, not the video. For example, you've had a lot of issues with making an account this year because AWS Educate doesn't work like it used to. So now we're just telling you to make a regular account and don't even worry about the other service that we used in the past. As an example of the headache that is making videos. All right, so I think that I'm done with the video now. I wish you the best for the course. It should be a lot of fun. It should be a lot of work. It should be more work than, it should be about the same. Depends on how much you like doing work. It may be more fun or not. Anyway, I hope you had a good time watching me do all this stuff, and I hope that you followed along. I think this is going to be coupled with Homework 0 Part 2, where we're going to ask you to submit some kind of verification that you actually completed going through this process of making an account and setting up an instance. Primarily to take the load off of us, because the more people who've actually signed up and already understand AWS, the easier our life is, and the easier your life is, because so you're not struggling to catch up at any point in the course. Yep, I think that's all it. Good luck and have fun.